Hey, did you know that AC/DC and Journey made their first concert on the exact same day? Well, this is what I'm gonna tell you in this video. My name is Rafael, you're watching Rock and Roll Garage. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, leave your comment below, okay? Well, that's right. Back in December 31, 1973, more than 5 decades ago, more than 50 years ago, AC/DC and Journey made their first concert on the exact same day. Well, you may say, well, it wasn't exactly on the same day because Journey was in the United States and AC/DC was in Australia. Well, technically, at least on the calendar, it was the same day. And it's just one of these crazy coincidences about rock and roll. I mean, on the exact same day, two bands, which would become two of the greatest bands of all time, two of the best-selling bands of all time, two of the most influential bands of all time, play their first concert on the same night. That's just mind-blowing, you know? And as I said, obviously, they were in different time zones, and they were about 7,000 miles away from each other. And about 19 hours I had on the clock. So technically, you may say that AC/DC played first, right? Almost a day before. And I mean, if you were super rich and you were time traveling or something like that, and you knew how big they would become, you could get a Concorde jet and watch AC/DC first and go to the United States, and you still would have time to see Journey play on the exact same day, right? On the same night. So AC/DC's first concert happened in the town where they were formed, Sydney, Australia, at a place called Checkers nightclub. And by then, first, let's talk about Journey. The first show Journey did was also in their hometown, the town where they formed the band, which was San Francisco, California, at Winterland Ballroom. Winterland Ballroom was not only a music venue, but also an ice skating rink. And reportedly, the first concert already was huge. He had an estimated amount of people, of 10,000 people there. Obviously, they weren't there, all of them weren't there to see Journey because they didn't have even a record out, although they were kind of a super group already, right? News Gone, for example, had played with Santana for quite a while. But obviously, not all the people who were there that night were there to see Journey. And the interesting thing is that it was their first concert. Both band plays that the exact same night, but they weren't. AC/DC wasn't the AC/DC we would know a few years later, and Journey wasn't the Journey we would know a few years later, because both bands still didn't have a classic lineup. And I'm gonna tell you a little bit about that. Let's start with AC/DC, since they kind of did that show before. The first AC/DC, the AC/DC lineup, which performed their concert, only had, if you think about the classic lineup, you only had the two brothers, the founders of the band, the core of the band, the most important members of AC/DC, in my opinion. Obviously, there wouldn't be no AC/DC sound without them. So you had obviously Angus Young, Malcolm Young, and you had their first singer, who is Dave Evans, who's still touring around the world. Dave Evans, he only recorded a few singles with the band. He didn't record the first album. Obviously, the first album was with already Bon Scott. And besides those three, the band also had Larry Van Creed on bass guitar and Colin Burgess on drums. That was the lineup of AC/DC at the time when they performed their first concert. And about Journey had a very different lineup as well. They had obviously News Kahn on lead guitar. They had George Thickener on rhythm guitar. They had Greg Rowley on keyboard and lead vocals. And they had Ross Valerie on bass guitar and Prey Prince on drums. That was Journey's lineup for that show. And obviously, as you can see, they still didn't have the classic vocalists. They still didn't have that classic lineup that would make them two of the greatest bands of all time. And an interesting thing is that they, one of those coincidences in life, they played the show at the same time, during the same night, their first show. And a few years later, they would ended up crossing paths on the road. They toured together, and they shared the same bill a few nights. And that happened in the late 70s when AC/DC still had the late legendary vocalist Bon Scott. And it's a really an interesting thing, because AC/DC would go out in the concert, would play their concert before Journey. So Journey would usually watch their show, and there's a really touching and incredible statement on Bon Scott's official website, which is a statement of the classic Journey vocalist Steve Perry. And you're gonna see right here what he said. We're gonna read together. A really interesting. He tells about the experience of seeing Bon Scott singing live, and this is one of the greatest vocalists of all time, in my opinion. Steve Perry is just fantastic. It's him talking about Bon Scott. So let's read that together, because it's really cool. He said, "I remember the first time I saw AC/DC. Journey was continuing our quest to become headliners, and Van Halen, who were our opener, were with us for about a month and had just left the tour to pursue their headlining dreams. The next thing I know, I'm in Corpus Christi, Texas," which is a town in Texas, "showing up for our set. A new opening act from Australia was just added to our tour. I heard about AC/DC but never seen them live. When I walked in, I heard this massive pumping drum, bass and rhythm guitar groove with an amazing lead guitar and a voice soaring above it all like no other. I walked over to the stage left to see what the heck was happening. There he was, Bon Scott, with a bottle of Jack, no shirt, Levi's, and cowboy boots, singing like a cross between Steve Marriott and a cat. His voice was so fucking powerful that he changed me forever. He lived what he was." That's what Steve Perry said about the experience of seeing AC/DC for the first time, and also Bon Scott, the late legendary vocalist Bon Scott, who tragically passed away at the age of 33 in 1980, and was successfully replaced by Brian Johnson, since AC/DC continued to be, I would say that became bigger than it was even, right? Because Back in Black is the best-selling album, one of the best-selling albums of all time, and their successful career continued. And well, that's it. I hope you liked the video. It's just one of those interesting things in rock and roll. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, leave your comment, tell me if you like both bands or not. And don't forget to visit rockandrollgarage.com, please. Okay? See you later.